It's a fate almost worse than death. A teenager trapped behind bars for a cold-blooded crime he says he didn't commit. Jesse Barnes lived that nightmare for more than 40 years, accused of murdering his 15-year-old girlfriend, Cynthia Vaughn.
Cynthia was stabbed to death and bled to death from multiple stab wounds.
And once she was found on that very dark night in the Cherry Hill section of Baltimore, Maryland, police had tough questions for Jesse.
Did you kill Cynthia?
No, ma'am.
He was asked that question again and again. And even though Jesse pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder, he did confess, plunging him into a murky and never-ending legal mess.
And there was nothing ever corroborating any aspect of the confession that Jesse signed, which is a huge red flag.
In fact, his case seems rife with red flags. Jesse says he was actually at a party. Several of his friends could have vouched for him.
I had the alibis and whatnot, but they was never called.
And no witnesses saw Jesse with Cynthia that night. Even more stunning, Jesse's confession says he killed her in an area away from where the murder actually took place.
I was taken down to the pool where the police had directed me where the body was found. And they asked me to point. I pointed one place, and the police said, no, that's not the spot. The spot is over here.
Even though Jesse confessed to killing Cynthia by the pool, the evidence showed she was killed 400 yards away by a riverbed.
You had said that there was a struggle and a rape near the pool. Is that what happened?
No, ma'am. That was just a fabricated statement.
Why would you lie about that?
Because I was trying to give the police any kind of statement to keep them off of me.
Jesse's attorneys told us that when investigators came out here to the pool, they found no signs of a physical struggle, no DNA, not even a drop of blood.
He couldn't lead police to new or missing evidence. The existing evidence didn't corroborate his confession statement. In fact, it contradicted it.
But if Jesse was innocent, why would he confess to the murder?
I had no choice.
Individuals falsely confess when they feel hopeless, that there's no way out, when their spirit is broken and they feel like the only way to escape the situation is by confessing.
By all accounts, Jesse endured a grueling, almost 32-hour interrogation, saying police threatened him with bodily injury, manhandling him near a third-floor window. His friends also brought in for questioning.
We heard someone says, if you don't confess, that we're going to throw you out this window. As they brought Jesse out, Jesse was crying. He was handcuffed.
Jesse may have been the perfect target, with an IQ far below average.
That he had a borderline IQ, meaning he had an IQ in the 60 to 70 range, puts him at greater risk for making or agreeing to a false confession.
I was already crying because they told me that she had murdered. I don't understand why somebody would do such a thing to her.
After hours and hours of aggressive questioning, Jesse said he wasn't thinking, but he was talking.
I was hysterical when they started showing me different pictures of her.
They kept pressuring Jesse to come up with a story, to try to explain what happened. Jesse wanted to get out of there. They said to Jesse, just tell us what happened and you can go home.
All they wanted to do was just get me because I was a boyfriend. I said that I held the legs and we dragged her down to the swimming pool.
Jesse was charged with murder. His friends and even Cynthia's mother were stunned.
She did not believe Jesse killed her daughter.
And no one in Cherry Hill believed Jesse did this?
No, nobody.
Cynthia's brother couldn't imagine he was even capable of killing.
But my mother, my grandmother said, no way Jesse couldn't have did it. It's not his mentality. He was too kind-hearted, too giving, too caring.
Cynthia's family was so convinced Jesse was innocent, they hired an attorney to represent him.
It doesn't add up. Jesse shouldn't have been locked up in the first place for this.
Jesse got a speedy trial.
The entire trial was basically a day and a half.
But defense experts say not necessarily a thorough one.
His attorney, unfortunately, didn't do a proper investigation, had a lot of evidence at his disposal to show that Jesse didn't do this. His lawyer barely even put on a defense at all.
You were never notified to come to court, and you were the alibi.
Yeah, never.
Jesse was with you that night.
Yes.
And yet, Jesse was pronounced guilty. He was just 17 years old.
What was that moment like for you?
It broke my heart because when the judge gave me a life sentence, and I told the judge, I said, Your Honor, I said, how can I do a life sentence? He told me day for day.
Jesse ended up serving more than 14,000 days, almost 40 long years in prison, all while proclaiming his innocence and filing appeals.
I wrote to judges and different public defenders. I ain't got nothing. They kept denying me.
But he never lost hope, and some of it came in the form of a woman named Mabel, who stood by him as the days turned into decades.
The system let me down deeply, put me through all that.
Jesse Barnes was just 17 years old when his world was turned upside down. His 15-year-old girlfriend, Cynthia Vaughn, was found stabbed to death. And Jesse was the prime suspect.
I wish I could take back time and change things. Just told them that I wasn't nowhere around. Y'all got the wrong man.
This is a perfect storm of every bad thing that can happen, and it happened to Jesse.
And soon bad turned to worse. For Jesse, being in prison was like living in hell.
I done seen guys get stabbed from a balcony and the bodies laying on the floor. And when the lights come on, you always find a body laying there with a dagger sticking out of it. Started watching my back 24/7, every day, every night. I kept one eye open.
And throughout it all, his childhood friend Mabel kept him going.
She was writing me constantly, bless her heart.
Mabel remembers watching Jesse and Cynthia playing when they were kids.
He started hanging out in our house. My family loved him, and still do.
Mabel says another man got her pregnant when she was just 14 years old.
I told Jesse about it, and he knew it wasn't his. And he took care of my child all these years.
From behind bars?
From behind bars. But after a while, Jesse told me to go on with my life.
And did you go on with your life?
No. I wrote him for 40 years.
It seemed the connection was all Jesse had, and then came a glimmer of hope. A friend told him about the Innocence Project, and he asked Mabel to send them his court papers.
What did you think when you learned the Maryland Innocence Project was going to take on Jesse's case?
Elated. I was I'm gonna jump for joy. After all this time, he was so worthy.
My sister probably would be glad for him too as well.
For 2 years, attorneys investigated and presented the court with overwhelming evidence, but a judge never ruled in Jesse's case.
He was getting older in the Maryland prison system, and we needed to do something.
So his lawyers made a deal. Soon, simple hope turned to justice for Jesse, and he was finally released from prison.
That breath of fresh air when I first got released, freedom at last, freedom at last.
But Jesse's freedom came at a high price. He was released based only on a sentencing error.
He still has the guilty conviction on his record, but the sentence was reduced down to time served.
Even Cynthia's own brother agrees.
I don't think it's fair. I think he should be vindicated from it.
Police have never solved her murder, but Jesse's friends say they have a pretty good idea.
Who do you think killed Cynthia?
My true belief is stepfather.
According to her confidants, Cynthia's stepfather had been abusing her.
She told me that her stepfather was fooling with her. And I told her, well, why don't you tell your mother? And she told me she did tell her mother.
Cynthia told Jesse about the abuse too.
She told me that her stepfather kept coming in her bedroom and molesting her. I wanted to call the police, but Cynthia told me not to.
Jesse's new attorneys say their own investigation also led them to her stepfather.
I don't think there's any doubt that Cornelius Monroe killed his stepdaughter because he was mad that she had run out that night and that he had a long history of abusing her.
The night when she was killed, she had snuck out of her house, and Cornelius was out by himself looking for Cynthia. So he's really the only person in the neighborhood that didn't have an alibi.
Jesse's attorneys tried to track Monroe down, but he died while Jesse was in prison, making it nearly impossible to determine who killed her that night. Despite that and everything that's happened to him, Jesse still feels blessed.
I just want to go home.
And now he's making up for lost time.
We got married.
That's the best day of my life.
Mabel and Jesse got married 7 months after Jesse was freed.
Your mom, a week before she passed away, she called me around to your house, and she asked me not to leave you. She made me promise never to leave you. And I am a woman of my word. And that's another reason why I stuck by you.
By that too.
Even though Jesse has now finally found a new life, he's still lost a lot more than 40 years.
I lost my mom, I lost my 2 sisters. Excuse me. I lost my mom, I lost my dad. You probably might well say I lost my whole family. Ain't nobody left but me and my 2 brothers. And it hurts. That's why I wanted to get out. Finally, let people know what I've been through.
For Jesse, freedom is sweet, but the taste has left him wanting more, to completely clear his name from Cynthia's horrible murder. And for the man who has already received one miracle, anything is possible.
The governor, he can help me. If he can get me a acquittal, I'm an innocent man, and I want to get this sentence off my records.